Hello folks, I'm Ronald Mehta and welcome back to Digit.com. We are your digital aid and we provide free courses on the subject of business and marketing. In this video, we are going to take a brief stab on the topic on brand equity along with live examples and case studies. Let's start with the first one. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on introduction and sources of brand equity. Let's start with the introduction to brand equity. Brand equity's objective is to estimate the value of a brand. Increased goodwill and instant brand recall result in an increased sale and larger profit margin in comparison with other brands. Brand recognition can facilitate more revenue generation. This is because consumers believe that a product with a well-known name is more desirable than a product with a lesser-known name. Example: Google, Apple and Microsoft are top most valuable brands in the Forbes list. Apple topped the Forbes annual list of the world's most valuable brands in 2019 with a brand equity of $241 billion and a 17% increment per year over the last year. Brand equity and new launches. A brand affirms to provide apt quality and performance to influence the customer's choice among other brands. When consumers bestow trust in a brand, they tend to prefer that brand even at a premium price. After an exceptional brand performance, the company may take advantage and enter into new markets or launch more unique products. Long things short, brand improving its value in the eyes of the customer is known as brand equity. For example, Apple products, due to its consistently outstanding performance, always have high expectation, rumors and mass excitement surrounding the launch of any new product or opening of Apple stores. For instance, people waiting for the opening of the new flagship store in Beijing on July 17, 2020. Now let's look at the sources of brand equity. The four sources are brand awareness, brand loyalty, perceived quality, and brand association. Let's start with brand awareness. The probability of customers remembering the brand in different situations is called brand awareness. It serves as an anchor to which everything else about the brand is linked. Brand awareness is divided into brand recognition and brand recall. Let's start with brand recognition. When consumers visit a store, they are likely to identify the brand to which they have already been exposed. On the other hand, brand recall means consumers' capacity to be able to retrieve the brand from memory when subjected to any situation as a clue is called brand recall. Example: Coca-Cola. Based on a report, 94% of the world's population identify the red and white Coke logo. Coca-Cola claims that its name comes second to the word OK as the most recognized term globally. Next up, brand loyalty. The degree of the commitment showed by consumers towards a particular brand is called brand loyalty. In spite of marketing pressure generated by competing brands, brand loyalty is displayed when consumers stick to a brand and continue repeating purchases. Increased loyalty levels give the benefit of decreasing marketing expense as consumers function as positive advocates for the brand. Additionally, the company can include more products in its portfolio that serve the same customers at less expenditure. The best example in this could be Apple. Apple has aced in advocacy, whereas different brands tend to focus on more conventional marketing. Building product awareness through existing users and word of mouth was the aim of the company, which it did so through advocacy. Next up is perceived quality. Perceived quality is a customer's understanding of the overall supremacy and quality of a commodity or service. To evaluate quality, the customers consider the performance of the brand based on the parameters important to him, and thus he or she makes a comparative judgment by assessing competitors' offering in terms of quality. Again, the example here could be Apple packaging. Apple does not necessarily market its technology features, but instead they reinvent standards. For instance, Apple's product packaging is beyond excellence, whereas opening other brands entails plain cardboard boxes which are not as aesthetic as Apple packaging. And finally, brand association. Brand association is the link associated in the minds of the customer about the brand. A positive brand association works a long way for the company. The traits of a brand which pops up in the mind of the consumers when the brand is talked about are called brand association. Brand association form on the following occurrences: customers' interaction with the organization and its staff, marketing and advertising activities carried out by the brand, celebrity endorsements, and finally the quality of the product. The example in this case is about Dwayne Johnson's tie-up with Under Armour. Dwayne Johnson, popularly known as The Rock, came in association with Under Armour. Dwayne Johnson signed a partnership deal with Under Armour named Project Rock in January 2016. Under this project, Under Armour delivered numerous footwear and apparel selections focused on training. Project Rock 3 was launched in September 2020. According to Under Armour, the use of our technology provides zero gravity field to maintain the energy return that helps eliminate impact. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on brand equity. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. Hello and welcome to Digi8.com. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on measuring sources of brand equity. Let's start with the introduction. Qualitative research techniques usually identify potential brand alliances and sources of increased brand equity. They usually do not have a structured approach that permits a range of both questions and answers, and so often can serve as a useful primary step in exploring consumers' brand and product perceptions. And to do that, there are 5 techniques, which are free association, projective techniques, neural research methods, brand personality and values, and finally, ethnographic and experiential methods. Let's look at each one of them briefly, starting with free association. The easiest and usually the impactful way to provide brand association is by free association task. The customers are asked what comes to their mind when they think of a brand without giving them any specific clue. Example, what does the brand Tesla mean to you? Or tell me what comes to mind when you think of Tesla. Marketeers then can use the resulting brand partnerships to form a rough mental map for the brand. Marketeers utilize free association activities to identify the range of possible brand association in consumers' minds. Suppose many buyers mention electric vehicle as one of their first association when asked about the brand Tesla. In that case, the association is plausibly a strong one and likely able to influence consumer decisions. Moving forward, following questions can also be asked to consumers in order to understand the favorability of the association better, such as, what do you like best about the brand? What are its advantages? Or, what do you dislike about the brand? What are its disadvantages? Or, what do you find unique about the brand? How is it different from other brands? Such simple, straight means can be precious for asserting core aspects of a brand image. Moving to the second technique known as projective techniques. Marketeers with a vision to succeed in revealing the source of brand equity must profile consumers' brand knowledge structures extremely, completely, and accurately. Seldom, consumers may be resistant or incapable of revealing their true feelings. Therefore, projective techniques are the distinctive tools made to reveal the real opinions and feelings of consumers during such circumstances. Consumers are presented with an incomplete situation and asked to complete it. In this process, consumers reveal some of their true beliefs and feelings. The types of projective techniques are completion and interpretation task and comparison task. Completion and interpretation task. Bubble exercises is one approach which shows different consumers buying or using certain products or services. Empty animated bubbles are placed in the pictures to represent the opinions, words, or actions of one or more of the participants. Marketeers later ask customers to fill in the bubbles. This indirectly shows what people believe is happening or being said in the scene. Those stories and conversations described in this technique can actually help in assessing user and usage imagery for a brand. And the next projective technique of comparison task. Another useful technique is comparison task, wherein we ask the consumers to communicate their opinions about the brand by comparing these brands to personalities, countries, animals, activities, materials, occupation, nationalities, other brands, etc. In every case, the marketer would ask a follow-up question regarding why did the consumer make the comparison they did. This potentially provides a glimpse into the psyche of the customers concerning a brand. Moving on to the third technique, neural research methods. Neuromarketing is an elaborate study of how the mind responds to various marketing stimuli, including brands. It is like examining people's brains to determine their reaction to various products. Example, techniques such as EEG is being used by some firms nowadays. Is a technology to observe intellectual activity and better comprehend consumers' responses to marketing. Neurological research reveals that customers stimulate different regions of the brain in evaluating the personality traits of people and brands. Let's look at an example. Frito-Lay made use of the electroencephalography to obtain the reaction of adult customers towards Cheetos, their top-selling cheese puff brand. Before the examination, it was generally believed that buyers mostly disliked the residual cheese dust from Cheetos, but the test results, however, unveiled something completely unexpected. It was concluded that the buyers show a clearly positive response when their fingers turn orange due to the residue cheese dust, and consumers in fact enjoy the messiness of the product. The ad later won the 2009 Grand Ogilvy Award due to a 30% increase in sales of Frito-Lay. Moving on to technique 4 of brand personalities and values. Brands tend to take on personality traits or human values through customer experience or any marketing activity. They then like a person who either appears to be contemporary, old-fashioned, energetic, or exotic. Typically, there are 5 dimensions of brand personality, which are sincerity, excitement, competence, sophistication, and ruggedness. Please note, we also have a video specifically made on brand personality. Moving on, the examples under sincerity could be Dairy Milk, Johnson & Johnson. Brands which generate excitement are Tinder and Durex. Brands that fall into competence, JP Morgan Chase and Google. Sophistication, Apple and Mercedes. And brands that display ruggedness, Jeep and Decathlon. Moving on to the final technique, ethnographic and experiential methods. According to Harvard Business Review, ethnography as a branch of anthropology involves trying to understand how people live their lives. Researchers might be able to obtain more meaningful responses by tapping more directly into customers' actual home, workspace, or shopping behaviors. The explanation is that no matter how smart the research design is, consumers may not really be able to fully express their authentic selves as a part of a formal research study. Ethnography has 2 approaches that are traditional and digital. The toolkit a researcher uses is the chief difference between traditional and digital ethnographic studies. In the traditional version, a researcher uses cameras, notepads, etc. Whereas in digital ethnography, researchers use social media, smartphones, online blogs, etc. Let's look at an example of the traditional method. P&G acquired Gillette in 2011. As Roger Martin describes the story in Playing to Win, the focus of one executive, Chip Bergh, was to stimulate consumption by expanding into emerging markets in general and to India in particular. A team of ethnographic researchers was sent to India by Gillette to observe customers and do shop-alongs and home visits. They wanted to understand how different the Indian male shaver was from their American counterpart. They noted that people were extremely price sensitive and also shaved in a completely different way. P&G then leveraged these insights and its world-class design capabilities. As a result, the Gillette Guard was designed and launched, which was the most notable deviation from its traditional product development in Gillette's history. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on measuring sources of brand equity. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on managing brand equity. Managing brand equity involves 2 parts: brand reinforcement and brand revitalization. Let's start with brand reinforcement. Brand value is any company's major enduring asset and needs careful attention so that its value does not depreciate. Brand reinforcement thus essentially concentrates on maintaining brand equity by keeping the brand alive among the existing and fresh customers. It makes sure that customers are well informed about the brand, which creates more considerable brand awareness. Example, Coca-Cola. Now let's look at ways to reinforce the brand. Number 1, sustaining brand consistency. Consistency in the quantity and quality of marketing is the most important consideration in reinforcing a brand. Second, protect sources of brand equity. A brand should not only preserve the existing causes of brand value and positioning, but also look for new, stronger sources for increased equity. Third, fortifying versus leveraging. Fortifying pertains to improving brand equity with regards to awareness and perception, while leveraging points at making money from the brand. And fourth, fine-tuning supporting marketing programs. It is improving product performance associations and alliances that strengthen the image. Now let's look at Red Bull's strategy for brand reinforcement in detail, starting with sponsorship and events. Red Bull has been closely associated with sports, music, and stunts that it has with energy drinks. Example, the Red Bull Air Force crew is dedicating to pushing boundaries for performing heart-pounding aerial acrobatics that is just hard to miss. Apart from that, events like Red Bull Crashed Ice or Red Bull Queen of the Bay focus on specific sports like ice cross or surfing respectively. These stunts are particularly to target supporters of the sport and raise recognition of the Red Bull brand. Next up is their social media strategy. One prominent observation of the brand's approach to social content is its dependence on videos. Every post on its various social media account is more or less a video. Having a followership of a solid 9 million subscribers, Red Bull's main YouTube channel is very popular among the younger crowd. It has also further 3.9 million followers across other smaller platforms. Next up is the concept of sampling. Another marketing strategy Red Bull uses is sampling to improve and expand its brand equity. Red Bull targets students to make use of the effect of peer recommendations properly. Inspired by the word of mouth, the Ambassador program helps to ensure the reach for Red Bull first. Ambassadors distribute Red Bull products among younger individuals along with handing out t-shirts and hats to keep the Red Bull brand visible. The Red Bull's Wings team get much extra creative to cultivate an emotional connection of the customers with their brand. Next up is a strategy of airdrop. This project involves staged airdrops of Red Bull that took place concurrently throughout the country. The Wings team planned and placed mysterious wooden containers loaded with free Red Bull supplies on college campuses and then followed the next morning as people were thrilled by these unique giveaways. The project took a very different approach to traditional product samplings which people were used to seeing. As a result, this drew attention to the brand and a hashtag use promoted the sharing of the event on social media. Point of purchase displays. Red Bull categorically strengthens its brand equity by using an effective marketing tactic called point of purchase. It requires setting up of signage and freezers at various bars and nightclubs. The Red Bull fridge is a viral push tactic used by the energy drink company to raise recognition and sales at the point of purchase site. The in-store refrigerators placed in supermarkets and nightclubs directly advertise and sell to customers. Now let's move on to brand revitalization. Revitalization of a brand is nothing but a marketing strategy chosen when any product enters the maturity stage of the product life cycle and when its earnings have fallen drastically. Brand revitalizing is an attempt done by the company to bring the product back in the market. A product has to be revitalized despite a good reinforcement strategy due to some rigid factors such as competition, invention of new technology, change in preferences and taste of customers, and legal obligations. Now let's look at ways to revitalize a brand. Number 1, by defining new or additional usage opportunities. Companies need to identify additional or new possibilities for customers to offer brand more. Communications regarding the benefits of using the brand more frequently in existing situations or new situations must be carried out. Second, identifying new and entirely different ways to use the brand. Another approach for increasing frequency of usage is to identify entirely new and different applications. This method may require more just a new ad campaign or promotional strategies. It could at times arise from new packaging designs. Third, by repositioning the brand. Repositioning a brand seldom requires the company to establish more gripping points of difference irrespective of the target market segment. Fourth, by changing brand elements. Brands often need to change one or more elements to either convey a new message or to indicate that the brand has taken on a new meaning. A brand name being the most certain element is often extremely rigid to change. However, they can be combined into initials to display shifts in marketing strategy or increase recall. Example, Federal Express officially changed its name to FedEx and launched a new logo to build brand stronger. Next, in order to convey a message of the brand being healthier, Kentucky Fried Chicken abbreviated its name to the initials KFC. The fifth way to revitalize a brand is by telling its story about your product. Customers might not identify the product, but they do recognize the human struggles and challenges that are similar to their own. That's where the story of brand comes handy to establish a connection. Let's look at the example of the Old Spice revitalization campaign. Old Spice, a deodorant and body wash brand for men of all ages, was established in 1938. However, after reaching stagnation, Old Spice and Whedon plus Kennedy collaborated for a new campaign, the Old Spice Swagger, in 2008. It completely transformed the image of Old Spice brand in order to be able to compete with new brands, precisely Axe. Old Spice went for a new name with some cultural currency and attitude. It marketed the new product Swagger as a scent that makes a difference and scored an outstanding web run which, after seeing success on traditional marketing channels, also made its way on YouTube. It also saw a hugely successful online campaign at swaggerizeme.com which managed to garner more than 500,000 visits. And finally, let's look at the example of Cadbury. Cadbury's new look involves energetic touches like a new wordmark and redesigned milk glasses, digging deep into Cadbury's archives to generate something that still manages to make the brand exciting and timeless. The revitalization of the Cadbury wordmark pulled inspiration from the founder John Cadbury himself to create a beautifully crafted signature with a more modern feel. The new look and feel created by design agency Bulletproof includes elements like a revised wordmark, updated iconography, and typography. That's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on managing brand equity. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on brand value. Now let's start with what is brand value. The financial worth of a brand is known as a brand value. Brand value is essential to develop the value of your business and forecast it. estimating the brand worth in the market, it's important to compute a brand value. That is, how much will anyone pay while buying the brand? Brand value can be computed in many ways depending on the situation, industry, and business. Moving on, brand value versus brand equity. Brand equity is a set of assets or liabilities in the form of brand visibility, association, and customer loyalty that add or subtract from value of a current or potential product or services driven by a brand. The owner of a well-known brand name can generate more revenue simply from brand recognition, as consumers perceive the product or well-known brand as better than those of lesser-known brands. On the other hand, the financial value of a brand is known as brand value. A favorable or promising brand value doesn't necessarily mean favorable or promising brand equity. Let's look at brand value examples. According to a report compiled by Interbrand, the 2020 Best Global Brands report, on the first place is Apple. Apple is valued at approximately $323 billion and ranks highest in terms of brand value according to this report. The second highest is Amazon, valued at about $200 billion, whereas the third highest is Microsoft, valued at $166 billion. When compared to last year's value, Google has gone down 2 ranks and is the fourth highest at about $165 billion. The fifth highest brand is Samsung and is valued at $62.2 billion. The remaining 5 in top 10 are Coca-Cola, Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, McDonald's, and Disney. Moving further, 50% of 2020's total table value is accounted by the top 10 brands. New entrants in the category were Instagram at rank 19, YouTube at 30, and Zoom at number 100. The re-entrants in the table are Tesla at rank 40 with a valuation of $12.7 billion and Johnny Walker at rank 98. The top 10 is dominated by technology, which is the fastest growing sector, whereas a global pandemic caused retail to struggle. Please note, it is important to understand that this only shows the brand's worth and not the company's worth. For instance, Apple's market value exceeds $2 trillion, where its brand value is $323 billion computed by Interbrand. Moving further, Real Madrid and FC Barcelona are world football's most valuable brands. Brand Finance, a renowned consultancy firm, states that the brand value of Real Madrid computes to about 1.419 billion euros. FC Barcelona's brand value is 6 million less than Real Madrid at 1.413 billion euros. Manchester United ranks third and is valued at about 1.315 billion euros, followed by Liverpool in the fourth place and Manchester City at number 5. How to calculate brand value? Interbrand's methodology to calculate brand value. Interbrand has been giving brand valuation analysis for more than 30 years, starting in 1988 when it designed the world's first brand valuation. The company had a major role in improving the standard itself. There are 3 key pieces of analysis that form the basis of Interbrand's valuation methodology. The financial performance of the branded products and services. Second, the role the brand plays in purchase decisions. And third, the brand's competitive strength and its ability to create loyalty and therefore sustainable demand and profit into the future. Moving on to brand valuation methods. A brand valuation methodology that suits one company might not suit other. All of these methodologies have their own strengths and weaknesses. Some of the major brand valuation methods are: first, income-based brand valuation method, under which the first one is relief from royalty method. The amount of money that the owner of a brand has to pay to use the brand after licensing it from another party is the basis of this brand valuation methodology. It uses discounted cash flow analysis to capitalize future branded cash flows. Next, excess earning method. A certain amount of earnings beyond profits are required to attract investors. These earnings are calculated and the rate of return calculated on the basis of the value of the assets are used in this method. It is assumed that these extra earnings add to the brand or intellectual property. Next, price premium method. This brand valuation method is based on the capitalization of future profit stream premiums attributable to a business's brand above the revenues of a generic business without a brand. And next, capitalization of historic profit methods. The subsidization of brand's profit is the basis of this method. Next, number 2 is market-based brand valuation method. First, PE ratio method. The profits earned by a brand are multiplied by a value that is obtained from similar transactions of profit to the price that is paid depending on the brand value that is reported in the price to earning brand valuation method. Next, turnover multiple method. A value obtained from similar transactions is multiplied by the turnover of the brand in this method. And finally, cost-based brand valuation methods, under which the first one is creation cost method. The amount invested in creating a brand is calculated in this method. And the next, replacement value method. The amount required as an investment to develop a brand with an equivalent share and market position is calculated in this method. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on brand value. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on brand value chain. Let's start with the introduction. The set of actions a company takes to build and deliver a valuable product or service is known as brand value chain. The brand value chain has about 4 value stages, and some key elements build up each value stage. The stages are: number 1, marketing program investment; number 2, customer mindset; number 3, market performance; and number 4, shareholder value. As you can see, it is a linear process, hence each value stage influences the next. Between each stage, the multipliers define the effect on each following step. Let's see how. Let's have a complete look at the model. First, as you can see, there are 4 stages. And between each stage, there are these multipliers. As stated earlier, the multipliers define the effect on each following stage. Let's see how. For example, in the first stage, marketing program investment affects customer mindset. However, the multiplier between them, that is the quality of marketing program investment, defines whether it creates a desirable customer mindset. It is also possible that your brand may not achieve a positive customer mindset if the program quality is not good enough. Let's discuss the model in detail. Let's start with the first stage, that is marketing program investment. The brand value chain starts with this stage. Any marketing program investment that can contribute to the brand value development is included in the first value stage. Marketing activities include product research, employee training, trade or intermediary support, and marketing communications such as advertising, promotion, sponsorship, direct and interactive marketing, personal selling, publicity, and public relations. Let's look at an example for this. The Coca-Cola Company, one of the biggest beverage manufacturers, spent a record $4.24 billion on global advertising in 2019. The advertising budget is often used in print, radio, television, and other advertisements. It is also used by the company in marketing campaigns, point-of-sale merchandising, and sales promotion. It is worth noting that the promotion budget is for the global operations, but the United States market accounts for about 20% of the total budget. Now the multiplier before we head to the second stage, that is program quality. The key elements include clarity, which indicates the marketing campaign's messages and their forms of communications. Second is relevance. Marketing program should be relevant to your customers. Third, distinctiveness. Amongst the innumerable marketing campaigns available, your marketing program should be able to stand out compared to other competitors. And fourth, the consistency of the campaign. The marketing program should be consistent and include a combination of different channels that the program utilizes. So now let's move on to the second stage, that is customer mindset. The resonance model suggests 5 ways that highlight vital measures of the customer mindset. Number 1, brand awareness. The degree and comfort at which consumers recall and recognize a brand. Example, Coca-Cola. Second, brand association. The strength, favorability, and uniqueness of recognized qualities of the brand that benefits in the longer run. Example, Apple. Brand attitudes. Comprehensive evaluation of the brand concerning its quality and satisfaction it generates. Example, IKEA. Brand attachment. The extent of loyalty that the customer feels towards the brand. Example, Xbox users. And finally, brand activity, that is the extent to which customers make use of the brand, influence others to use it, seek out brand information, promotional activities, and events. Now let's look at an example of a positive customer mindset. The brand is GoPro. Very few brands have a strongly embraced user-generated content such as GoPro. The company immediately realized the value of UGC and developed various incentivizing programs to keep its content streaming across online platforms. For instance, the $1 Million Challenge offers a fair share of $1 million to every user whose clip submitted is used in the brand's legendary year-end highlight reel, as it only accepts entries shot on the latest high-end camera. Now let's look at the multiplier between the second and the third stage, which is called as marketplace conditions. Under marketplace conditions, let's look at the first element, that is competitive reactions. The reactions of the competitors to one's company's marketing program affect the overall performance of that program. Next up is the channel support.
Ideal marketing investment plan utilizes all available channels, both online and offline. And finally, the customer size and profile. The marketing program that targets a more significant audience should have a considerably higher investment budget. Moving on to the third stage, which is called as the market performance of the brand. There are 6 ways to determine how the brand performs in the market. The first being price premium, which is the ability of the company to raise the price of the products. Second, the company enjoys price elasticity. It measures the impact of the quantity demanded to change in price. Third, market share, that estimates the success of the marketing program in pushing brand sales. Fourth, brand expansion, which talks about the ability of the brand in launching line and category extensions. Fifth, cost structure, which focuses on reducing marketing program expenditures aided by the prevailing customer mindset. And finally, profitability. This is when the earlier 5 outcomes combine and yield brand profitability, which is the 6th outcome. The best example in this case would be Apple. The 6 points of market performance are very much in favor of Apple. Apple's CEO, Tim Cook, told Bloomberg Businessweek in a 2013 interview, "There's always a large junk part of the market. We are not in the junk business. Apple is still focused on the higher end of the market where customers remain willing to pay a premium for value." Tim Cook's thoughts were influenced by Steve Jobs, whose strategy for Apple had 4 pillars. The first, to offer a small number of products. Second, to focus on high-end usability. Third, to give priority to profits over market share. And fourth, to create a halo effect that keeps people excited for new Apple products. Despite the cutthroat competition, Apple has succeeded in creating demand for its product due to the quality it offers. And the multiplier, before we move on to the 4th stage, the multiplier is called investor sentiment. Financial analysts and investors consider a host of factors in arriving at their brand valuations and investment decisions, such as: first, market dynamics, which includes interest rates, investor sentiment, and supply of capital. Second is a growth potential, for which they conduct a pestle analysis. Third, the risk profile associated with the brand, which includes what are the possible risk factors for the brand, how might the brand reduce these factors. And fourth, the contribution of the brand. That is, how valuable is the brand to the firm's brand portfolio. And finally, we move on to the 4th stage, which is shareholder value. The financial marketplace forms opinions and assessments that have a direct financial impact on brand equity based on all available current and forecasted information about a brand. Listed below are 3 important indicators for the same. First being the stock price, second, the price earnings multiple, and third, the market capitalization for the firm. Strong brands not only deliver high returns to stakeholders, but they can do so with lesser amount of risk. The example for record-breaking market capitalization is Apple. Apple's market value crossed $1 trillion for the first time a few years ago. Apple's stock market entered undiscovered waters. Thanks to more than doubling since August 2019, its weighing in the S&P 500 just leapfrogged IBM's in 1985 to become the biggest in 40 years. At 6.5%, Apple's share in the S&P 500 surpassed the record 6.4% that IBM held 35 years ago. On August 2020, Apple became the first US company to reach a $2 trillion market cap.
So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on brand equity. Do subscribe to the channel where you'll witness such videos daily. Thank you. Stay tuned for videos.